Hello and welcome to Finextra. I'm Josie Waite and I'm here with Stefan Dierckx from The Glue. Thank you for joining me, Stefan.
My pleasure.
What is your view on the impact of innovation and digitalisation in the banking industry?
Well, I think the impact so far has been relatively limited. Obviously, over the last couple of years, a lot has happened in the banking industry, but what we see is that the banks have digitized their existing banking services. So opening current accounts, processing payment transactions, they all have launched their apps and home banking channels very successfully. But it's all digitization of existing banking services. And that's just for me the starting point. The next phase will be what are the value added services that come on top of it? And that's where the biggest competition will be within the banking industry. So for me, it's just the starting point.
And what do you think the impact of these new regulations, such as GDPR, PSD2, will have on the banks?
Well, the impact obviously can be quite big, but it all depends on how you look at it. If you just want to be compliant with PSD2, GDPR, etc., the impact can, in theory, be relatively limited. But our recommendation would be to use PSD2 and GDPR as a lever to do much more on top of it. Use this as a starting point. If you take the example of PSD2, opening access to accounts, processing payment transactions, etc., is just the beginning. We will definitely see an evolution beyond access to accounts and payment transaction processing into other, what I would call, silos of the bank. So it all depends on how you look at it, and obviously we believe that the winners at the end will be the ones that use these regulations just as a starting point and build new services on top of it.
And do you think fintechs will wipe out the banks?
I'm definitely not convinced of that. I think the fintechs definitely have a role to play. Some of them can be considered as disruptors and take a piece of the pie, definitely. But I think most of the fintechs are there to provide new technology and services to the banking industry, and that's clearly what we see. The banks start to embrace these technologies. They all have their innovation services they launched within the banks to test these new technologies and potentially industrialize them. What we see is that today it's still in a relatively early stage. All of the banks have these innovation hubs, but launching these innovation technologies on an industrial scale within the bank, we've seen few examples of that so far.
Thank you, Stefan.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching.